Bandits are robbers and outlaws who engage in violent crime, usually in groups. Historically, they ambush travellers and raided settlements. Bandits often have complex motivations, including economic hardship, social inequality, political turmoil, and so on and so forth. Bandits are chaotic and operate outside the law, but will exploit it if advantageous. For example, they might surrender to adventurers working for a local sheriff, hoping for a chance at escape later. This situation forces players to navigate a fine line between heroism and vigilantism, whether they want to execute those bandits and not bring them back to town or not. Whether the bandits' plan succeeds is up to you and up to your players, really. Brigands and bandits are often considered synonymous, but I believe that there are key differences between them. And I think brigands are more organised and violent, and they often stem from military backgrounds. They typically have better armour, weapons, and discipline. And I use brigands in post-war settings where soldiers are unable to fully integrate into society again, and this creates local crises and really interesting stories that you can play out. Historically, many bandits did exist, and one infamous bandit called Eustace the Monk, who's from France, 13th century. He was a monk turned outlaw, and he was exiled, and he operated in the English Channel, in Normandy, raiding settlements along the coast like Calais. He captured islands like Guernsey and Sark, and fought both King John and King Philip II of France. And in the First Barons' War, he was defeated at the Battle of Dover, captured, and executed. And my point of really telling you about Eustace is that bandits can come from all walks of life. You don't need to have them all be commoners or like dumbasses who are just horrible to women and want to kidnap people or want to kill people. Like, they have lots of different reasons, and they come from lots of different backgrounds. They could be soldiers, they could be nobles. I'm pretty sure Eustace was actually like the third or fourth son of a nobleman, so he was a noble member of the clergy. I don't know if that made any sense, but you know what I mean. And their reasons for banditry, for turning to a life of banditry, so such as exile or seeking revenge. This provides context for creating stories at your table. Despite the chaos that they bring, bandits can lead to some really, really cool adventures. I think that they're really interesting foes, if you didn't already establish that. They can attack villages for livestock, to steal livestock and silver. It reminds me of my times playing Mount and Blade as a teenager. It's a popular PC game, right? Where you would be in a medieval world and you could serve a king or make your own faction, capture castles and stuff like that. And I remember King Harlus gave me a village not too far from Suno, I think it was Suno. I don't know. It was one of the settlements, and there would always be bandits there. Bandits would always go there, so I'd always have to go over with my little motley crew and dispatch them, and it was it was really, really fun. I enjoy that kind of experience as a player, and I think it can be interchanged with D&D. I think you can do a lot of these same stories in Dungeons & Dragons and in your TTRPGs that you guys are playing as well. You can involve bandits more in the local plot. They could be inciting a rebellion, or the bandit leader might have aspirations to become a king. The best stories often replace conventional adventure plots for a more dynamic scenario. Here's a free chart that you can add to your DM screen for creating bandits, more specifically their reasons for becoming a bandit. You can roll for a group of men and women, or you can roll for individuals. If players capture a bandit, roll to determine their background, as bandits join for various reasons. Bandits are typically mundane, but they don't actually have to be. I think in a high fantasy setting especially, some henchmen could be clerics, sorcerers, bards, with spells, abilities, even magical items. I prefer low fantasy games myself, where mundane bandits are usually challenging enough, but I usually make their leaders more interesting. You know, give them some things that make them a more dynamic encounter. For example, you know, a bandit group could employ a low-level priest or a cleric to heal comrades and spare the dying enemies for ransom. You know, whilst some bandits might be incredibly violent and just want to kill people, you know, most do seek profit. And that leads to role-playing opportunities where a bandit priest spares defeated players. Bandits can also be non-human as well. I feel like whenever I see bandits in a D&D campaign, they're always human. But you can have dwarven bandits, elven bandits, you can have orcs, hobgoblins, whatever you want, right? Obviously the word bandit doesn't really make sense with orcs. Orc bandit, dwarven bandit, I guess that sounds a bit better. But you can use other words like raiders and outlaws, and orc raider sounds really good, you know? How do bandits fight? Do they fight in packs? Do they use distance? Do they excel at ambushing? Changing tactics can make encounters more exciting and difficult for your players. 6 bandits rushing a paladin in plate armor isn't going to be very effective. Sure, that paladin's going to feel tough as nails as he knocks down those bandits round after round, but the bandits aren't really playing to their strengths, are they? But ambushing from an elevated position and using traps like nets and pitfalls can be very useful. Bandits are typically used in 2 ways, either as random encounter fodder during travel or woven into specific adventures. I prefer using them as random encounters, and I put them into charts tailored to the region's social politics, including monsters and factions, right? And this allows me to create dynamic stories. I always use a reaction table to guide my encounters, and I would encourage all of you who use random encounters to do the same. Because not every encounter needs to start off with the enemy being hostile to you and wanting to fight. Maybe the bandits, you roll neutral on the chart, and the bandits just want some money, and they don't even want that much. They just want you to pay a toll. You know, a lot of players don't like paying tolls. Especially in games where they feel like they're really strong and they can do what they want and nobody's going to be telling them what to do. But I don't know, I find it a lot more interesting than just saying the bandits attack for no reason apart from the fact that you guys are adventurers, blah blah blah. Like, you can even roll that the bandits are friendly. The bandits, they see the bandits, they don't actually know that they're necessarily bandits. You describe them as being men who are armed. Maybe they're hunters, maybe they're poachers, maybe they're caravan guard, right? But they just give the party a wave, you know, and if they ask about their activity, they will not tell them that they're bandits or say they're doing something else, you know? Like, you can have some really interesting role-play discussions with bandits, and it might end up being hostile at the end. They might end up fighting each other, but let your players decide that. I use this example encounter chart to achieve these kind of goals. You know, I like 2d6 charts because, you know, obviously you have like a better range. You have a median range between like 6 and 9. This chart obviously includes bandits, guards, brown bears, zombies, and commoners. And the more frequent encounters are obviously, as I said, in the middle range. The bear and the zombie encounters are rare, suggesting that they're either inactive or in low number. Bandits and guards, however, obviously are more frequent on the roads, and this creates a story through like repeated encounters without actually needing to spoon feed your players. I think the best kinds of stories, in my opinion, are the ones that have buy-in from your players, you know? The ones where they do what they actually want to do rather than what you've put in front of them. So consider what we've discussed today and let me know how you guys use bandits in your adventures. As always, make sure you join our public Discord if you'd like to get involved with our community, and consider checking out my Patreon where I post tables, charts and systems that you can use in your D20 campaigns. I'll see you guys next time. on Loki's Lair. Until then.